Welcome to the Net Wealth Nest podcast, the show that helps everyday people build real financial stability, starting from wherever you are. Whether you're working your way out of debt or just starting to save, we're here to help you grow your net wealth to your first big wealth milestone. Each episode, we break down the mindset shifts, practical tools, and real-life actions that can transform your financial future. Thanks for tuning in. Now let's get to work building your net wealth nest. Welcome to the Net Wealth Nest podcast. I'm your host, Jim LeBeff. Thanks for joining us again for another episode where we help you to build financial stability and help you grow your net wealth. Today's conversation is a little bit different. It's a little bit packed with some emotions, some guilt, some empathy, some pressure. We're talking about when friends and family might be asking you for some money, might be asking you for some help, and how to handle those situations and how to understand when you are able to help them and when you are not, quite frankly. We've all been there. Someone you love, respect, trust as a great friend or family member comes to you and says, hey, I need help. I need some cash to get through whatever. I've got this unintended expense. I've got this going on. I'm in trouble. And you want to help, but you're maybe not sure if you can or not. And that's something that puts a lot of pressure on some people to understand, am I in the position to even help this person? Am I doing the right thing? Let's talk about some practical steps that you can look at to decide what you're going to do and when you're going to do it without hurting those relationships, as well as like your own path and the progress that you may have made building your financial stability. So the first rule is what I like to call the airplane rule. And the airplane rule is this: if you've been on an airplane before, you know that they go through all the safety procedures before you go to take off. And they're going to tell you, you must wear your seatbelts and there's life preservers if you're going over water and what to do. And one of the things they talk about is the oxygen mask. And basically what they say is if the cabin loses pressure while you're in the air, which makes it really hard to breathe and you could pass out from it, the oxygen mask will drop down from the ceiling and you'll need to put that on you and put the strap around the back of your head so it stays on you. And then it pumps oxygen in there so you can breathe and basically so you don't pass out. One thing they always tell you is make sure you put your oxygen mask on yourself first before you help out anybody else around you. Even if you have small children that you're traveling with, they tell you make sure to put yours on first. You got to take care of yourself first and then you can help others around you. And the reason they do this is because it shows that when people, instead of taking care of themselves, go to help others, sometimes they are so stressed with trying to help others that they actually end up at a detriment to themselves. And in this case, with the airplane, it would be like you going on there and all of a sudden you're trying to help maybe the person next to you put on their mask and you pass out before getting their mask on. And now they can't get their mask on, and so they pass out. And so instead of you putting on your mask first and then maybe helping out other people around you, you're both end up passed out and nobody is helped in that situation. And that's the same approach I like to take with helping people out that might need some money to get past. Is if you are struggling paycheck to paycheck, or you're struggling to pay your bills, or you're behind on your bills, you're struggling to come up with rent for the month or utility bills, you're getting calls from collections or any of that, or you're just, even if you're at neutral and you're just making it right now and you're just starting to build, you've got to understand that if you're not in a position where you're not stable and you don't have it figured out, helping somebody else could be not only a detriment to you, but it could be a long-term detriment to them where they expect you to help out no matter what position you're in. If you're not in a good position, you should really be trying to stabilize your position first before you go and help somebody else out. The other piece is you should have a couple of your stepping stones done. And that means a solid emergency savings, maybe not the full 3 to 6 months that you should or would like to have, but a couple of months at least of savings. So you're protecting yourself. And then also you might have already started investing. That could be something as simple as maybe a 401k at work, but you're putting some money towards some wealth generating items. You've got your bills under control. You're consistently meeting your budget. Like all those check boxes should be checked before you take a moment to think, oh, this person needs X. Let me see if I can help them out. If you can't check those out, like you are putting yourself at risk at that point, or not putting on your oxygen mask first, if you are just giving out that money to help out others without being in a good position yourself. The second thing that I like to talk about is assuming that you are not going to see that money back. And that can be a little bit controversial with a lot of people who are like, hey, if I'm going to loan this person $100, $200, whatever it is, doesn't matter. I should assume that I'm going to get that money back from them. It's called a loan. They're asking to borrow money. And then most people say, can I borrow some money and I will pay you back? And the reason that I say that you should assume that you're not going to see that money back is if you do assume that, it has a tendency to put stress on your relationship, whatever that relationship is. So if it's a friend, it could be where your friend owes you money and all of a sudden they don't feel maybe comfortable around you because they know they owe you money, or maybe that you don't feel comfortable hanging out with them. Or what I've seen sometimes too is where people will loan money to a friend and then maybe a month goes by and they don't bring it up, but they're hanging out with that friend and all of a sudden that friend is buying something for themselves or for somebody else or whatever. And that person feels a certain sort of way about that, where it becomes like, hey, like I just borrowed the money last month so they could maybe make the rent or do something that seemed like an emergency at the moment. And now here they are a month later, they haven't paid me back and they're out going out to eat or they're buying around at the bar or whatever. If you just assume that I'm going to give them this money, and again, we just talked about that you're in a position to actually do that. You just assume I'm going to give them this money and it's not coming back to me. If it does and they do pay me back, bonus, great. But you know what? At the end of the day, if it doesn't come back my way, I'm not going to be upset about it. It is what it is. I'm helping that person out get to do whatever they needed to do or cover whatever they needed to cover. I'm going to assume that money is not going to make its way back to me. That also helps you understand, should you be lending that person money? If you can say, yes, this is okay, even if the money never comes back, I'm okay with that. And again, I'm just going to keep going back to this, that you're in the position to do so, then go ahead. It's fine. If you start to feel anxious about it or you get upset about it, or again, you're not in the position and you can't afford it, you should not be lending that money. The last thing, that this mindset just protects you from that IOU type trap where everybody feels the pressure when somebody owes somebody else money. Again, just take the assumption that's not coming back. The next thing I have on here is, how do you say no when you really can't help somebody? And that's where most people get stuck, is somebody will come up to them, a friend or a family member, and they'll be like, hey, I need a couple $100. I'm short on my utility bills for the month. And they're talking about sending my bill to collections or turning off my electricity or something, maybe something dire. But you might be in a position where you're like, I'm barely making it. I am worried if I spend any extra right now, I'm not going to be able to make my rent. I'm not going to make my utility bills. I can't get gas in my car for the next week, like all of those things. Or even if you're in the moment where you're like, I've stabilized myself, but I haven't built up my emergency fund yet. I'm not investing yet. I'm like just at the beginning. I'm just starting to make traction and I don't want to derail myself. So here, when you have to say no, here's typically how I will usually frame it, or how I'd recommend others to frame it, is leading with empathy. So something like, totally get it. I understand your position right now. I've experienced that myself, where there have been months, not that long ago, where I was worried I wouldn't pay my rent or my mortgage or gas in my car, whatever it might be. I'm just not in the position right now to help you financially in the moment. And that lets them know that you just aren't in the greatest position to actually execute that for them, as well as like right now, I am just figuring it out as well. And so I can't do that. And that's all you really owe them. You don't need to go into depth on what your actual financial picture looks like. It's up to you. You can do it if you want. It's personal finance is personal. But you don't owe them anything. You just owe them basically like a reason. And that reason, more often than not, is you're not in a good spot to do it anyways. You don't want to derail yourself, because then in the future, you're definitely not going to be able to help anybody else out, including them. Making sure that they understand that it's because of your financial picture. It's not anything to do with them. It's not anything to do with the situation. It's that you're trying to take care of yourself and build long-term stability in your life. That's why you're not able to do so right now. The other thing to think about too is sometimes you'll get some pushback right away, and it could be based off of something that they might have seen you do. What I've consistently seen is, oh, you just bought that, whatever, that was $100 pair of shoes last week or whatever. And while it may or may not be intentional of that individual, they're questioning. If you're saying you're not in the right spot, then why are you doing these things? Or why can't you help me out? But that's more important. And they may not, again, intentionally try to make you feel guilty, but a lot of people will feel guilty when they're pushed back on. And you just stick to, yep, you're right. And that's part of my struggle is sometimes I'm spending on things I shouldn't be. Like, again, I'm trying to build that stability in my life. I'm moving towards it. And right now, I can't do it. It will derail my stability and my financial picture that I'm struggling myself to work towards. And so I'm just not in the financial spot to help you out right now. Stay firm, stick around the financial stability piece of it. It's not selfish, it's responsible at that. So you're trying to make actively correct behaviors to move yourself forward. And then if you have to say no, are there alternate ways that you might be able to help them and some of the things that you've done? If you're listening to this content, you've obviously started working on maybe some different things like a more dedicated budget, trying to understand when you have triggers and on emotional spending or lifestyle creep, or understanding all the different aspects that come up and that can help derail your financial stability. So maybe it's, I can't help you with mine right now, but hey, if you're struggling to make utilities, I'd love to sit down with you and just show you a few of the things I've done around budgeting. It has been helpful. Again, it's not perfect and I'm still working on it, but it's moving me in the right direction. Maybe that could help you. Or connecting them with resources like this podcast as an example, sharing tools and tips that have worked for you in your journey on what you're working on. The other thing to take into account here with that is by doing that, while it might not feel the same way as that individual getting the money in the moment, you're actually trying to help them long term of, hey, I don't want you to struggle anymore with not being able to pay your bills or not being able to do this. There's other avenues and ways that you can execute differently so that you're not in this paycheck to paycheck cycle, or maybe you're not underwater and having to borrow money or use credit cards. I'm on this journey that I've started. Let me show you what I've learned so far and let me show you the resources that are out there. And maybe you can make some of those changes too that will really help you move in a different direction in your financial journey. So that's what we have today. The big three things that we really covered today is, first, when you're being asked for money, assess. Did you have your oxygen mask on first, right? Are you set up where you're not living paycheck to paycheck? You've started to build out at least a significant emergency fund. You might be doing some investing and you've really stabilized your financial picture, moving month in and month out or paycheck in and paycheck out. The second piece, if you lend, I just recommend you typically do it with the mindset that money's not coming back. Even if they say they'll pay you back, that's great. And you don't have to tell them that they don't have to, but just be under the assumption that I'm not going to see that money again. But you know what? If I'm going to give it, it's okay that I'm not going to see it again. I'm trying to help that out. Or if not, maybe that's part of your decision not to lend that money. And then when you have to say no, it's just leading with empathy. And again, if you're like me, you've been in some of those experiences where you're like, I'm not sure where this money's going to come from or how I'm going to cover the bills that I might have. How am I going to figure that out? What am I going to cut out? Saying no with grace and empathy is, I can't help right now. I'm not in the position right now. Those types of things will help you. And then again, offering maybe some solutions that you might be going through yourself. Hey, I've got some resources. I got a great podcast I've been listening to. There are online resources that help you build a budget. I've downloaded this app that's helping me track where I spend all my money. Let me show you some of the things that I learned that are starting to help me so that you can do the same thing. Really, money and relationships, they can be complicated. It's just about going in there with the right mindset and trying to help you navigate these moments without losing your peace, without losing the progress that you've made, and without losing the relationships and the connections you've made with these individuals. Thanks for joining me for today's episode of the podcast. If you're ever faced this situation, having to say yes, no, or not now when somebody has asked you for money, I'd love to hear your story. Tell me about it. Tell me what you've done in the past, what's worked, what hasn't. As always, if the content has been helpful, we want to hear those comments. And if you have other questions that are out there, please send them our way. That helps us build out content for the future. As always, again, if the content was helpful, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow on your podcast player of choice. We want to help you build out your financial stability long-term. And really, we want you to grow your net wealth nest. Thanks for joining today. My name's Jim, everybody. Have a great day. Bye. Net Wealth Nest LLC and Podcast is an educational platform committed to providing resources and information to empower individuals on their financial journey. Please note, we do not provide financial, tax, or investment advice. All financial decisions should be made in consultation with a qualified professional who understands your unique circumstances. Seeking personalized advice is a smart and necessary step before making any major financial commitments. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you found value in this episode, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Net Wealth Nest, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. We read every comment, and they help us improve and guide what topics we dive into next. And hey, if something you heard today resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend, a family member, a coworker, your barber, your barista, even a stranger in line. You never know who might need this message. Remember, building net wealth is a journey, but you don't have to do it alone. Stick with us, and together, let's grow your net wealth nest.